It's a pleasure to have you all here today. My name's Festus Amoye, and just a little bit about my business journey. I never really thought I'd be in business. My dad did some business when I was younger, but he wasn't quite successful at it. He migrated here from Nigeria in the 80s, and then we had 4 children. And, Nigerians were very, very big on education. And so our parents really pushed us to get an education. And, there's kind of a ongoing joke that if a Nigerian woman's pregnant and somebody says, "Hey, what are you having?" she'll say, "I'm having a doctor," because of just the attitude and approach of Nigerians towards education. And so fast forward, when I was in high school, unfortunately, my mom passed away when I was 14 and my dad passed away when I was 16. And so just after having go through that hardship and not have support, I didn't think I'd graduate college, let alone, kind of start a business and do anything that was really successful. But again, I pushed forward, and pushing forward led me to the military. And so I was in the military, and I got training as first a medical supply specialist, and then I transferred to combat medic. And then after combat medic, I transferred into occupational therapy. That skill set as an occupational therapy assistant, I had a lot of patients that started to ask me to work with them privately. And so this brings me to kind of the first lesson or first key point I'm going to bring out, which is skills pay bills. Maybe you haven't started your business yet. Maybe you're considering starting your business. Start off with your skill, right? And so what I mean by that is that if you stick with your skill set, with what you're good at, that gives you the opportunity to just highlight what you're already naturally good at as a skill set. The next thing is learn your market, right? Learn your market. And what I mean by that is that I didn't realize as an occupational therapy assistant all the different types of things that I could do as an occupational therapy assistant, or with that skill set as an occupational therapy assistant. And so the last thing is learn to market. And so the thing is, especially if you're kind of in this freelancing side hustling space and you're going from, hey, I'm doing this for my employer and I'm going to go out and do it for myself, you got to learn how to market and how to set yourself apart in that market. So again, fast forward, I had these patients that were asking me about what I do and how I could do it for them. And the second point, which is serve until you're called upon. So are people asking for you? You might be a person who's in a business or working with an employer, but you'll know that you set yourself apart if you're serving until somebody asks for you. When they say, no, I don't want to just have anybody. I want to work with Michael, or I want to work with Patrick, or where's Patrick at? He was handling my thing. Those are the things that help to set you apart, and that are key indicators that you could be starting a business or building a business. And the last thing is to set yourself apart, right? So one of the things I struggled with is self-promotion, right? One of the things I struggled with is telling people what I do, right? And so that did not set me apart. And so until I really honed in and said, I need to set myself apart with what I do, and developed a name. And it took time. It took time to go from, this is Festus Amoye working in X hospital, to Festus Amoye, founder of MedXFit Houston. That took time. And then the last thing I would leave is find your tribe. And these people, I feel like, are part of my tribe, right? And so these people help me grow Laddering Your Success and how we develop Laddering Your Success. So with that being said, without any further ado, I want to turn it over to Cleo Franklin, who's going to give his key points on starting, growing, and maturing your business. So with that being said, Cleo, can you please take it away? Thank you.
Thank you, Festus. I appreciate it. Again, I'm Cleo Franklin. I am two-time author, as Festus talked about. I have 2 businesses, Franklin Leadership Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization. And that organization really is all about providing access to underprivileged as well as financially disadvantaged students to create future leaders today. Second business is Franklin Strategic Solutions, and it's a global consulting business. And that business is predicating to helping businesses take their business and operations to the next level. The thing that I want to talk about is really for those aspiring business owners or entrepreneurs who are really trying to think about, what do I do? Where do I start to first begin my business? Which I think is always a challenge. It's fearful when you begin. And the first step that you have to take, truly from my perspective, is what is it that I want to do? Festus alluded to this a little bit, but I want to expand on it. When you begin a business, I think it's important to find out two things. What is your interest and what is your passion? And more importantly, is there a skill set or capability that you possess that you can package to begin building upon this idea of a service or a product that you can provide to the marketplace? Now, when I say, what's it that you're interested in, or a passion or skill set, the reason why I talk about that is this. When you're doing something that you're good at and something that you love, you do not have to be motivated. You do not have to sit through training. All you're doing is applying an asset that you possess and really trying to build that into something that's marketable. And I want to give you an example. I worked for 3 different global brands for over 30 plus years. And during that time, I worked in developing strategies, business development, market development, as well as operations, logistics, a multitude of things. But taking those 30 plus years of experiences allowed me to do a few things. One, now I'm an adjunct professor at the University of Houston, downtown, and I've been teaching for 5 years as international business and global marketing. Well, the skills that I amassed over those 30 plus years are applicable in the classroom and sharing that knowledge with students, and that's MBA students. Also applies to my global consulting business. I'm able to discuss the problems that they're facing, some of the challenges throughout all of the business organizations, and talk at every functional level. So this is a skill set that I developed and amassed over 30 plus years, but it's also something else that I love to do. It allowed me to package and parlay that skill set into building a business. But if you can first begin with something you love and something you're good at, I think you're halfway along the way to really formulating that business idea. But the next aspect I'm going to give to you is something that I want you to really think about, because this is applicable to not just aspiring business owners, but people who are at any stage of their business. And that is asking the important question of why. And this is what I mean by that. Once you formulate your idea, your business interest, or your service or product, you need to ask yourself this question. Why is it that people would do business with me? Why are the reasons that someone is going to do business with me? You must ask yourself that simple question, because it's really difficult to answer it. And that's why you need to internalize and to think through exactly, what is it? Is it the service that I offer? Is it something special that they need? Or is it a place that's seeking my skill set in need of that capability? But asking why really allows you to get beyond the surface and get to those levels that really matters to the people that you're going to serve with your business. So asking yourself why, or what is it that people would do business for me and why, I think is important for any business. But once you ask that question of yourself and answer it, there's another why question. And that question is, if someone's going to do business with me based on the services and the products that I offer, why would they do business with me versus someone else? This extends that why question to another level. It goes outside to the competition in the industry that you're going to be competing in. Think about it. If you are a hotel that provides newspapers to all of the people that stay at your location, you need to understand, is that one of the reasons why that differentiates me versus doing business with someone else? And if I were a hotel and my competitors were offering that service that you can come to the counter and get a cup of coffee and get a free newspaper, I would offer them a newspaper and put it outside their door every morning. I would take it a step further, also with a 20% discount for a coupon for coffee. What I'm doing is trying to differentiate why someone would do business with me versus someone who's already in the same industry or marketplace. So why would people do business with me? Why would they do business with me versus someone else? Are the first two why questions. And I'm going to get to the last one. This why question I think is essential, and it's helped me throughout my business because it helps you think outside of the box and outside of the marketplace in the industry that you operate in. And that why question is this. If in fact there's a company that I love doing business with personally, or an organization that I partner with, why is it that I love doing business with them? For example, why do I love shopping at HEB? That's a Texas marketplace, right? Well, because they have local grown suppliers, they have a great selection, and more importantly, no matter how busy that store is, they process you through the checkout line with great efficiency. I'd rather do business with them because of how they process me versus Kroger, which takes a little longer time. So when you ask that question, why is it that I enjoy doing business with this individual or this organization or a brand that I love? The insights of asking that question allows you to think about other experiences or other differentiation factors that you personally love that you possibly can apply to your own business as well. So when you think of these 3 why questions, I think they're very insightful questions, but things that really require a lot of thought. Once you've thought about the business idea and of course the things that you want to offer to the marketplace, ask yourself again, why is it that someone would want to do business with me? Second, why would they do business with me versus someone else who offers the same thing? And more importantly, is there someone that I enjoy doing business with, that I partner with? Is there something that they do that drives my why I do business with them that I can apply to my own business? Those are the insights that I wanted to provide to you and of course to everyone that's attending, because that's going to unlock the secret of unique differentiation and add value to your value proposition, no matter what you're doing.
Thank you so much for that, Cleo. I got 3 key whys from that. So thank you for that, Cleo. Wes, if you want to take it away, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Wes Okeke, originally from Nigeria as well. I grew up loving technology, very passionate about it. Both my parents grew up very poor. My dad actually migrated to the US at a very young age, got full scholarships. But he also was one of the first entrepreneurs in Nigeria. He's a civil engineer. And after we got our independence in 1960, he was one of the first to decide to go out on his own. Me, I was young, didn't really care about any of that. I was running around building things, causing electrical fires in our home, getting yelled at. And, I was just excited about tech. When I walk into the stores that have TVs and computers, that's where I go. And I go and I just hang out. I came in contact with a computer, I think, I must have been about 12 years old. My dad had bought a Wang computer. And this was probably the only computer, because I'm almost 60. So this was probably the only computer in our city. And the governor came by to see it. And I was really excited because my dad trusted me. This is probably one thing I did not break and destroy or take apart in the house, probably because I would have been killed. But later on, I got my degree in Boston, Massachusetts. And then I went into, as an engineer, electrical engineer. Then I went into business development, marketing, and sales. And I traveled all over the world, which was really exciting until I came to, one day I was in Germany and I decided to fly to Nigeria. And I went back to our village, and I hadn't been in our village for 25 years. And while in our village, I realized that electricity, clean water, medical and educational services hadn't changed in 25 years. But while I was there, I saw that technology had come into this village. And at that point, I was conscience stricken. I was like, oh my gosh, here I am doing all these great things and making good money, but people's lives aren't being impacted by what I'm doing. And so from that point on, I began to think of starting this company called Headway Idea Labs. We just recently changed the name. It used to be Fruition Technology Labs. And the reason why I started it, because I realized that at the end of the day, whatever I'm doing must have an impact in people's lives. And so we first launched as a social entrepreneurship incubator, accelerator. And then as I grew to understand what that meant, I began to focus on purpose-driven. And so companies that I studied, this is about 7 years ago, I started studying out purpose-driven entities. So companies like Chick-fil-A, Costco, Airbnb, Southwest Airlines, Deloitte actually has become a purpose-driven entity. Some of them did not start out that way, but they decided to change from the core of who they were as a purpose-driven company. Now, something very interesting about these companies, at the core of who they are, they put people first and profit second. And they're known to be the most profitable. Their employees absolutely love them. Their customers are loyal even when they make mistakes. And they tend to be the most competitive businesses out there because, again, their focus is on the people. So we have been going for about 5, 6, 7 years, and our focus is on taking those men and women that have tech ideas and ensuring that there's a value. Cleo kind of mentioned this in his talk, the why, making sure that they have a why behind what they're doing. And I'll touch on that a little bit. And developing a business model that what I call it's a 360 business model that affects and impacts your customers, your employees, your partners, and even your competitors. And so that's what we focus on. But when it comes to starting an idea, there's 3 things that I think of always. One is pain, and the second one is purpose, and the third one is a palatable solution. The pain, the purpose, and then a solution. When I was in my early 20s, actually 19 years old, I used to write programs for some of the students in the university because I didn't know any better. I was doing their homework. But what eventually happened is I was helping them get their homework done. I started writing a program for my landlord. And little did I know, I ended up building this elaborate real estate program that managed all his properties. I think there were about 200 of them. And he actually paid me. And then eventually I got my real estate license and broker's license, which was good for a little bit of my life, but it did mess up my education, so I went back to school. But that was the first start of realizing, oh, there's a pain here and there's a purpose behind what I'm doing. And I'll get a little bit more into that. And then providing a solution that someone can use, a solution that has value. And then in my mid-20s, Staples, I worked for this company that did business with Staples. Yes, Staples, the office store. And I was roughly about 25 years old. And they came to me one day and they said, Wes, we have this, because I was doing something at this company in the tech, and I won't get into it. But anyway, they came and says, listen, the mistakes that we're running into is costing us $100 and something thousand each time this takes place. Can you help us? So I go, yeah, piece of cake. And so I put this little contraption and software together, and I sold it to them at $1,500 a pop. And so they were buying this off and on, and I would just burn a CD. For some of you that know what CDs are, and buy a piece of equipment and ship it off. And now everyone says I should have sold it to them a whole lot more, but I didn't know I didn't know any better on how much I should sell it. But again, here was a perfect example of a pain, some purpose behind it, and then a solution that was palatable. And when I talk about pain, if you have an idea or you're looking to venture out, there must be a clear pain or problem that you are solving. And it has to be a pain. It can't be a symptom of a pain. A lot of people go out and they address a symptom of the pain, but what happens is when that symptom disappears, your solution or your product or your service disappears. And so I always tell people that you need to focus on the pain that people are going through, understanding that pain, making sure it is a true pain, and then relating to that pain, being able to relate to the pain that these people are going through in order to bring a great solution. The best entrepreneurs that I like working with are not those that are even in the tech space. They're typically non-tech people. They drive me crazy because they're non-tech and they have these great ideas. But the thing I love about them is they understand the pain intimately. And that provides really good direction on how to provide the better solution. The second thing is purpose. And I like this quote, and I forgot who said it, but it says, some ideas are driven from within. And how I see that quote, it's the purpose behind your idea. What it does, it creates a human connecting component, connecting the pain to a person and then to the right solution. But you need to understand the purpose. You need to understand the why, as Cleo said, why this is so important to this person's life. Because the greater the importance, the greater the value you're bringing. And in many cases, the more money you can charge. So pain, purpose, and then a solution. Now, I used to launch products all over the world, tech products, and a lot of great products are launched and they do phenomenal things, but no one buys them. And the reason being, it was a solution, but it wasn't a solution that people would adopt or was appealing or was easy to use or understandable. And so understanding how to produce a solution that is palatable, that is easy to adopt to your customers is extremely important. One of the companies I worked for, we had spent well over $1 million on this product, and they gave it to me to launch, and it didn't do good. And I says, guys, who did you build this for? And they go, well, we increased all this stuff, and it's faster, it's cheaper. Well, let's just sell it. And I go, but who did you build it for? And they didn't have an answer. And the reason being, they didn't really know the purpose nor the person they built it for. So it didn't matter how much money they put in it. They lost sight of the people. So this is why I think purpose is important. But whenever you have any idea or any business that you would like to bring to market or to launch, think of these three things: the pain, understanding the pain, the purpose behind it, and then providing a palatable solution.
And next we have Fallon coming up to tell us how not to burn out. So Fallon, go ahead and take it away. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My name is Fallon Lopez. I am a registered nurse, certified health and wellness coach, personal trainer, and the CEO of Are You Well? I help nurses prevent burnout with my self-care strategy. We focus on mental wellness, nutrition, and fitness. So today I want to talk to you about like we were talking, like Festus was saying earlier, how not to burn out, how to take your pain, your challenges that you're going to experience in your entrepreneurial journey and turn it into a purpose so that you can be a long-lasting, effective entrepreneur. So something you should know about me: it is hard for me to slow down. I am on the go. I am the definition of a busy body. As a full-time nurse, part-time entrepreneur, slowing down, taking breaks, going slow is not something that's easy for me. It is definitely not a strong skill. And I'm sure many of you here that are listening may be feeling the same way. We like to produce, we like to show up, we want to give back. That's why we're entrepreneurs, right? But for me personally, I had this overachiever mentality. And this is what got me burnt out in the first place. I wanted to call it quits as a nurse. That's how much my busybody mentality, affected my purpose, my job, the way I showed up as a nurse. But through my journey, becoming an entrepreneur, I took the burnout. I took that feeling of hopelessness, of feeling ineffective as a nurse. I learned my lesson, and now I am choosing to be more effective and long-lasting in my entrepreneurial journey. And today, I want to share with you how you can do the same. Whether you're starting a business, growing your idea, trying to nurture it, or you're choosing to scale, wherever you're at in your journey of entrepreneurship, being your most effective and showing up at your best is a choice, no matter what stage you're in. So, something that I am learning in this entrepreneurship journey: there is no orientation book. There is no orientation beginner class, introduction, step-by-step guide. Like Festus was saying earlier, you're the main one. You're doing it. You're figuring out everything. And there's no step-by-step guide exactly what you need for your business or how to even start a business. And so by finding this out, by coming to this new truth, I'm learning that we all learn differently. And the way that entrepreneurs learn and grow and scale and learn to pivot in their journey is looking at mistakes, looking at failures, looking at setbacks as a way to learn. This is the way we learn to pivot, to advance. So if you want to be your most effective, if you want to give your best and turn those challenges into purpose, then you're going to have to be okay and looking at failures as learning moments. Failures, these setbacks, these mistakes, they give you a new perspective. Failures help you build the character you need to succeed. They teach you something you will never forget. After one mess up, after one fall down, you're like, okay, what can I learn from this? Look at it as a learning moment. Lean into the uncomfortable moment. These setbacks, these mistakes, these failures, it could be your next idea. It could be that next shift for your breakthrough. Through the breakdown come the breakthrough. For me personally, my breakdown was the burnout. When I got to a point of being a nurse where I was feeling hopeless, feeling like I couldn't help my patients anymore, I felt like just a little cog in this huge wheel, this huge contraption of healthcare. I felt as a nurse hopeless, like I didn't offer, that I didn't bring value. Why was it that I was feeling this way? I didn't have the coping mechanisms. I had unhealthy boundaries. I was very low on my self-confidence. There was things that led me to this burnout. And instead of just numbing or hiding from the burnout, I had to leaning into the uncomfortable time. Why was it that I got to this place? How is it that I got to this place? And that is how I was able to break through. Finally seeing, okay, I'm not alone. There are other nurses that may be feeling burnt out as well. There may be other nurses that want to call it quits on nursing, on healthcare altogether. And what if we all do? What does that mean for healthcare? The nurses are the ones that move it forward. Nurses are the ones that you trust the most. You talk to them more than your doctor. We're the ones that give advice and all of those things above. So if I did not lean into that burnout, I could not see the problem. If I could not see the problem for what it is, lean into it and find a solution that, okay, nurses could experience burnout. What can we do to prevent the burnout? Do we need better self-care? Do we need to go to therapy? What do we need to do? If I wasn't able to do that and learn, I would not be where I'm at now with my business. So the burnout, it gave me perspective. And I saw a problem, like Wes was saying, and found a solution. And it's not always a step-by-step process or just like it looks the same for everyone. But I think starting with that, okay, looking at failures, looking at mistakes, looking at setbacks in your entrepreneur journey as a learning moment. If you want to be your most effective, if you want to give your best, throughout your journey, you're going to have mistakes, you're going to have setbacks, but having that mentality, like, I can learn from this. What is this trying to teach me is so important. The second thing that I want to share with you in your entrepreneurship journey, if you want to remain effective throughout this journey, release the need or pressure to produce all the time. You are not the Energizer Bunny. You do not keep going and going and going. You need time for breaks. Learning a new skill and doing something new as an entrepreneur, it can be overload to the mind and even more taxing on your body. This is your dream. This is your purpose. This is your heart and soul. This is like the baby. So you have to nurture it. Be kind to your mind in the process because you can be your own worst critic when it comes to your baby. You want to protect the baby. You don't want it to fall. You don't want it to do this. Yes, but be kind to your mind. Work in ease. Forcing and pressure all the time and making fast decisions, it doesn't get you any quicker to your goal. It doesn't get you there any quicker. But we know that consistency and dedication does. So release the need to always produce, to always be on the go. I'm always busy. So yes, there are seasons that you're going to be hustling and pushing, but there's seasons, making sure that there is the ebb and flow and incorporating consistency and dedication. Maybe some days you don't get everything done in 24 hours, but coming back the next day, okay, today is a new day. How can I add value? Where can I add value? Instead of having always the pressure, like I have to do this, that is really going to make you a more effective and give you a more long-lasting entrepreneurship journey. Third thing that I want to share with you, if you're looking to be more effective, looking to turn those challenges into your entrepreneurship purpose, while you're going, looking and learning through the failures, while you're releasing the need, doing these things for you every day to produce and to show up, make sure you're doing self-care, not just the bubble bath, not just the wine, let's get intentional with our self-care because being an entrepreneur is high stress. This is part of the job. You're the one, you're the go-to, you're owning it. So making sure you have those applicable tips, those applicable things in place. Like, how are you waking up every morning? Are you jumping out of bed and getting straight to the to-do list? Are you answering all those emails as soon as you wake up? Instead, like have a morning routine. I find that I work my best, I work my healthiest when I'm taking care of myself first. I can then give to others. I can then pour from a full cup, a cup that is overflowing, because my cup is not dry. My cup is not dusty. I have filled it first with, taking care of me, showing up for me first. And so an applicable tip that I'll give you right now, if you're trying to upgrade your self-care and show up your most effective as an entrepreneur, having the practice of a morning routine. Now, I'm not saying it needs to be, 2 hours long, or you have to wake up at the crack of dawn to have this morning routine, but just start with 10 minutes a day. Get some quiet time, go to the car, to the shower, wherever you can get your quiet time, and, prepare your mind for your day. What do you need? How are you feeling? And, a morning routine can start like that, 10 minutes a day. And then making sure you're having healthy nutrition, hydrating, and you're getting enough sleep. You cannot be your most effective, and you cannot operate at your highest self as an entrepreneur if you are running on 3 hours of sleep and caffeine all day, and not drinking water. You want your dream to be pushed. You want your dream to be out there. You want to help others, and all these dreams that you have for others. You have to be putting that same energy into your own health. And that is something that I've had to learn. All the health and healing that I want for my patients as a nurse, everything that I want for nurses to be healthy, I have to put that same energy into my self-care every day. And sometimes it's doing those applicable things every day. Morning routine, getting healthy meals in, hydrating, sleeping at least 7 to 8 hours, and disconnecting from your devices, the computer, the phone, because that's what we do. That's our lifeline as entrepreneurs. I could go on about this, but this is so important. But I'm gonna stop right there.
Thank you so much, Fallon, for just coming in and delivering for us. That's amazing. And so again, just as Fallon was sharing, as Wes was sharing, as Cleo was sharing, we have pain in our lives, and a successful entrepreneur seems to understand how to translate their pain into a solution for other people without burning themselves out in the process. And the thing is, there's all different levels of business, there's all different types of business, and there's all different types of business models. And these are some things that we need to really, really think through. So as we transition over into kind of this panel discussion, I'm going to ask our panelists a question, and it's going to be open. We want to keep those answers really, really brief. Okay. But then I'm going to turn to you all and let you all have an opportunity to answer or elaborate on that question itself. So I'm going to start with this question for our panelists. Who or what are the essential roles in your business?
And so find out what your weaknesses are. And depending on what they are and what your strengths are, then you need to find someone to complement those weaknesses or fill in those gaps of your weaknesses.
I would say a business coach, somebody that speaks your language, that knows your needs, that know what you need and where you need to work.
The first person I would bring in would be the chief storyteller. I need someone to really align not just everyone within my business to really tell a story about who we are, what we do, why it matters, and why you should be a part of our brand.
And the next question I'm going to ask them is, if you had $500 to start a business today, what would you do and why?
I would probably build a website first.
So what I would do is I would find five students at a university or college or in high school and run a contest to basically pitch their businesses and give away $100 to the top 5 to help start their businesses.
If I could have 500, I think the first thing I did was get my LLC. And I didn't really know everything with my business. So I would say get some business planning done. And then the second thing would be investing your LLC or whatever it is that you want to invest in next.
So the last question I'm going to ask is, with around 95% of businesses failing within their first 3 years, why should a person even start?
You have to fail first to succeed. And I think you missed 100% of the shots you never take.
You have the idea, you have the unique perspective, you have the solution that people need. bring value, bring your perspective, bring what you have to the world because somebody needs it.
If you're humble, get into it. And if you understand the pain, you have purpose, and you have a solution in mind, go do it now.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, we're going to segue here into just kind of open it up and open forum. So let's talk.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much to every single one of you. It was amazing. I've learned so much, in such a little time. It was just so swift and it was just to the point and it was just magnificent. It was amazing. Thank you. And especially you, Festus, for hosting this event. Seriously. And thank you for inviting me and for inviting all of us, to come together. It's been truly a pleasure. How did you know it was time to transition? What kind of gave you the sign? Like, how did you know it was time for you to leave everything else behind in a sense of, your old job or your own routine and transition?
Okay, I'll kick us off and then we'll open it up. So for me, once I kept getting requests for people to work with me privately, that's when I kind of knew, like, hey, man, I got some sauce here. You know what I'm saying? And so that was kind of the key indicator, because if it goes to what Wes was saying earlier, actually goes to what Cleo was saying earlier. If somebody's already paying for something and they ask to pay you extra for something that they're already paying for, then that lets you know number one, they're in real pain. Number two, that sets you apart. And then regarding LYS, I think for me personally, even though it's more about social entrepreneurship, I see the need of what's going to happen. Let me say, I see the problem that our future children are going to face. There's a lot of people who are in the inner city, first generation, non-traditional students, and I can see the problems that they're going to face because the financial gap is getting wider, the technology gap is getting wider, the people gaps are getting wider. We have generational problems in which we don't have discussions like these anymore with the younger generation. And so because of that, I felt like now is the time to start impacting that younger generation, get in those classrooms and do that mentoring, because in the future, the gap is going to be so wide that they may not be able to fill that gap. So I hope I answered your question about transitioning. Anybody else? Open?
Well, for me personally, I had gotten so burnt out, feeling hopeless, feeling like I couldn't really help my patients. The turning point for me was when my uncle passed away from his struggle with diabetes. Unfortunately, he had a hard time getting information about lifestyle changes. He was the drinker, he was the smoker, he loved to eat and barbecue. So changing his whole life was so hard for him. And it was hard for him to receive from the medical professionals. I don't know if they just didn't have the time or whatever the reason was. I just felt like if someone would have that one-on-one, if even I could have more one-on-one with my uncle, like maybe we could have reached him. Maybe we could have done something. And that was the point for me. I was like, I can do something. I'm a nurse. I have a responsibility. There are skills like we were sharing earlier, Cleo and Wes and even you, Festus. There are skills that I have that somebody needs. And it's up to me. I can take that responsibility. How can I see the problem and then find the solution? What do I need to get to that solution? Because maybe you do see a problem, but you're not sure how the solution is going to happen. So I have invested in so many coaches, leadership coaches, in my education as a coach, as a health coach, as a nurse, just so that I can find these solutions. And so for me, that was a big turning point for me to transition and take the responsibility. Like I do have something to bring to the table.
Oh, thank you, Fallon, especially for sharing that personal story. And again, my condolences. Thank you.
Festus, you mentioned in your talk about finding your tribe. How do you find, that tribe, or what are the first few things that you can do? Because it's kind of hard, because to find the right people, especially even at the right time. But how did you guys do it?
For me, how I knew what's time is when I truly understood what mattered to me. And what matters to me is doing the things that I love in the places that need it with the people I enjoy working with. Those are three things. And I've always been blessed to be able to do that and to align, am I doing what I love with the people that I love doing it with as well, and does this place need it? And if that's not in alignment, I leave and go find that place, okay? The other aspect is, I think it's important that you do not be the best kept secret in town. You share your aspirations, as they say, whisper into the wind and let everything flow towards you. I think that a closed mouth doesn't get fed. When you speak it to an existence, let people know what you're interested in, what you're passionate about. You'll find like-minded people. They'll come to you, but also trying to look for peer groups, associations, and organizations that are also in alignment with the things that you're passionate about. So that's one way to find, AKA, your people.
Ooh, that was a phenomenal answer, Cleo. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Again, we're in that open forum time. So, Wes?
Yeah, real quick for her first question, I always suggest, depending on your life stage, because everyone has different life stages, money, so on and so forth, is solve one person's problem at a time. So since I was 19 all the way until I started Headway, I had many different things. And I realized my passion was really to help people with technology. So I was fixing computers, even when I got laid off at several jobs. I was always doing something because I really desired to help people with this problem. And one of my customers actually was an Englishman that used to drive from Connecticut to Boston. He used to drive 2.5 hours just to see me to fix his computer. And so I just tell people, start with one person at a time, and you will improve until you're ready to grow your business, scale it.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Okay. So anybody else, any questions? Stasha, thank you for joining us. Christine, thank you for joining us. Patrick, Ricky, Lacey, Jeffrey, it's really an honor for you all to be here. And again, we want to provide value to you all. So if anybody else has any questions.
I had a question real quick. We've heard a lot of success stories, but I think, in a lot of businesses, there's some common obstacles out there that would prohibit us from realizing some of those successes. So if anybody has anything that may have been a barrier in their startup, something like that, I know a barrier for all of us is money, the lack of, and then people. Right now, with the market being the way it is, there's not a lot of good folk to fill a lot of these positions. So in some of your businesses, real quick, can you tell me some of the barriers, some of the obstacles that you faced and maybe how you overcame them? Okay,
man, that's a spicy question. I'll give you 2 points for me. One for the medical exercise business. I transitioned too soon. So I just graduated college. I had like 2 or 3 clients. I said, man, I'm out of here. So next thing you know, it dried up. It started to dry up. And I said, well, what happened? I thought I was good to go. But the biggest problem was I didn't really do my marketing. And that's where I again, learning from Cleo is learn to market, learn your market. And so the thing is, it took time to really do that research, to learn my market, learn where I wanted to be placed in the market. That's a whole nother thing in itself. And so by figuring that out, that helped for me to get some fuel, because as I started to understand my ideal customer, and what I like to call is training your customer, right? Is that ideal customer has a certain way of acting and behaving and different types of things like that. And you learn that, but you also train your customers to kind of be alike, because when you're a solopreneur, when you're just getting started and you're trying to meet everybody's different needs, and this person wants this price and this person wants you to do this special thing for them, and then you're trying to do all of those things for all of those different people, that's where it gets really, really draining for me. And then I would say the second thing for me was in terms of failure and getting up for failure is resources like Upwork, resources like, in terms of tackling the people problem, resources like Fiverr. I'm a big Upwork person myself, and finding people on Upwork because it's a global economy now. And so if you know exactly what you need help with, whether it's website design or whether it's making a flyer, graphic design, whatever, you go on Upwork and the world's your oyster in that regard. So I hope that answered your question.
I had a quick comment. This is Patrick. I think the biggest transition that you have to make in the entrepreneurial mindset is moving to a growth mindset, meaning there is no failure, right? Every failure is an opportunity to evolve. So once you can get yourself into that mindset where you say, all right, this is an obstacle. Now I have to use my creative thinking to solve that problem. That transitions you away from the typical approach where it's like, I have a problem. It's a stopper. Now it's, I have a problem. This is a time for me to expand my thought process and solve this problem. And in solving the problem, you expand your business and the way that you think.
100%. That is bullseye. Thank you for that, Patrick. So with that being said, we want to thank each of you for taking time out your schedule to show up for yourselves, right? And also to show up for us because, we kind of, again, we have this dialogue and we say, we think we know that people have a need to transition and they need some of the insights that we have and putting this together. We don't know if people are going to show up for themselves or show up for us. And so we're glad to see that you all are here. And again, I thank you for being here. Thank you, Fallon, for your time, for your expertise, for pouring into us. Wes, thank you so much for taking the time out to be here, putting on a jacket. and again, Cleo, thank you so much for your leadership, for me being able to say, Cleo, I need some help with these things, and you being able to answer those questions. So